This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. Between two-factor authentication, strong passwords, and a VPN, you try to be in control of how your info is protected. But many other places also have it, and they might not be as careful. That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats. If your identity is stolen, they'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit lifelock.com/podcast for 40% off. Terms apply. This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states or situations.
The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Welcome, everyone, to the Tuesday edition of No Credentials Required, where you don't need a press pass to talk sports. We are proudly presented by Belly Up Sports. My name is Ryan McCarthy. I'm one of the hosts. To my right is the man in the discussion between which would you choose, Kelly Kapowski or Topanga? He says yes, Dustin Henry. Dustin, how are you doing tonight?
Affirmative. I can confirm. I'm doing well. I'm happy I got my lawn mowed last night and coming fresh off the Stanley Cup Super Show, which you did a fine job hosting on Belly Up last night. And for those of you, if you did not see it and you need a Stanley Cup preview, check it out. I am the least knowledgeable on the panel by far, but I held my own. The Oilers.
You did a great job, Dustin. I mean, come on, don't sell yourself short, man. Come on.
But a la George Laraque on the Oilers circa 2004-ish, maybe. I was there to protect my stars. But here we are. I am ready and raring to go. We got no ticket required tonight. But how are you, sir?
I'm doing well. I got some great news today in regards to a screening I had, and I watched / listened to Seabiscuit because I forgot to watch it over the weekend. So I watched / listened to it today. But yeah, we did. We had a great show last night with the Belly Up Super Show for the Stanley Cup Finals. So you'll find it in the Belly Up YouTube and podcast archives. So after this show, you want to go check it out. But yeah, I'm doing really well, and I'm ready to go talk some movies. We posted a challenge. We posed a challenge to ourselves before going on tonight. So we're going to try to get the show done in around an hour. So we're going to try our best, though. We're going to try our best. We already got a comment in the comments section. Desi checking in saying, hello, fellas. Good evening to you, madam. And we're going to get going in just a moment. We're going to continue our movie series, No Ticket Required. We're going to talk about Seabiscuit. Talk about Tom Thibodeau being fired by the New York Knicks, and then we're going to share our favorite athletes to wear the number 40. But before we go on, just want to remind you on both the podcast side and on social and on the visual side to follow us on social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Search for No Credentials Required. Also check out our other podcasts and written articles at bellyupsports.com. On the podcast side, subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, Amazon Music, iHeart, TuneIn, Pandora, and our YouTube channel as well after the show. And also don't forget to hit that notification bell both on Twitter and on YouTube. That way you know when the show goes live, when there's announcements, when I do my goofy summarization of last night's games in GIF form, where I post memes because I like to do that. You can get the notification for that, give it a like, all that stuff. And on the podcast side, subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, including, me try that again. Rewind. Rate, review, comment, 5-star rating. Leave a review where you can on the podcast side. On Spotify, if you're listening to the show on Spotify, leave a comment. Dustin, gotta give a shout out to our subscribers and our listeners on the podcast side.
Oh yeah,
we had almost 1,200 downloads last month. We've passed the 3,000. I mentioned in one of the last episodes that we passed the 3,000 download mark for this year already. So we're doing. I just want to give a shout out to our podcast listeners out there. Again, leave us a rating, comment, review. We'll gladly share them on the air. If you're listening, if you're subscribed, and also subscribe to the podcast. Tell a friend about the podcast because things are moving on up. And we're a live show on Tuesdays, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Although I had to push today to 7 o'clock because I had to mow my lawn, even in this crappy air that we're experiencing in upstate New York right now. And on Saturdays, the Saturday brunch at 10 a.m. Eastern with the occasional Friday happy hours mixed in. Dustin, it's a Tuesday. I don't know what kind of work day you had. I had a pretty solid work day, but this sound, whatever I'm feeling up, whatever I'm feeling down, I'm happy that this tune shows up. And you know what time it is.
the watch is saying it's chime time.
You know what my watch is saying? Yeah. We got some comments in the comment section already. Rich checking in saying sports ball, and Julie saying hello. Julie from Michigan checking in saying hello, gentlemen. Good evening to you, Julie. Appreciate you tuning in. Appreciate everybody tuning in. But we're gonna get going with our show. We're gonna talk about our main subject, which is the second movie of our No Ticket Required series. Gotta play that beautiful, beautiful bumper.
Oh yeah, lay it on us.
Hit it. This week, we are talking about Seabiscuit, based on a true story. I forgot this was made in 2003. I thought it was a lot more recent.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize this movie's 22 years old.
Yeah.
But this is based on a true story about the actual horse named Seabiscuit, who had a tremendous racing career and all the characters involved. We'll talk about them throughout this review. But this movie has some significance locally in the capital region where we live. Part of this movie was filmed at the Saratoga Racehorse in Saratoga, New York. So has some local feel to it. This movie was actually nominated for 8 Oscars. I didn't realize how acclaimed this movie was until I started looking into it. But this movie was nominated for 8 Academy Awards. And I'm trying to find out what they were nominated for. They won 5. They won 5 awards for this movie.
Wow.
So it was a nominee for Best Picture, Best Director, or Best Writing, Best Cinematography, Best Film Editing, Best Art Direction, Best Costume Design, and Best Sound Mixing. It won. What did it win for? Doesn't give me the winner though. That's weird.
Man, that's a letdown.
It's a letdown. Come on, IMDb, get together.
While you're looking that up,
it was also a Golden Globe nominee for Best Picture and Best Supporting Actor with William H. Macy, who I'm surprised the Coen brothers let him act in this movie, considering all the roles he has in those movies. But while I find out what this movie exactly won an Oscar for, 2 Oscars for, Dustin, let me get your impressions of this movie. I know your sister recommended this movie to us.
Yeah,
so it's a little skeptical because of her other requests for voice.
Shots fired.
And Rich saying Simple Jack got snubbed by the Oscars. Yep, you never go full. Never mind. I won't say it.
Oh man!
But go ahead. Let's talk about this movie, Dustin. Let's talk about this movie. what's your impression of this movie? Had you seen it before our screening, well, before our review? And what's your thoughts about this movie?
Well, I had never seen it before, and I know. Let me just defend her a little bit. She had never seen Boys in the Boat. She just thought the premise sounded cool. But
Uh-huh.
this movie she had seen, and she very much loves this movie. But she hadn't. It was funny. I was watching it with her and her family, and she didn't remember parts of the movie, but she was one of the. She was like, "Oh wait, does something bad happen here?" And I was like, "Come on," as I'm sitting here watching it. But I, like you, I did not think this movie was made in 2003. And let me say, I think her heartfelt endorsement of it kind of hurt the movie for me a little bit, because I think I was expecting more. But I will say this movie did win me over. But in the beginning, I was like, wait, where's this story going? You got Jeff Bridges, and he runs a bicycle shop, and then all of a sudden the guy comes in, he's like, "Can you fix my car?" And he's like, "Yeah." And then he has it fully like taken apart. And I'm like, and then you show Chris Cooper, which my sister correctly pointed out. This is one of the few movies where he does not play, to put it lightly, an unsavory character. Chris Cooper, usually much more villainous, but I did like him in this movie a lot. He's like training horses and stuff, and he saves the one horse that's about to be put down. And I'm like, is this going to be like about the struggle, the fight between horse and automobile? Like, where are we going? And then the movie kind of rounded into form. One thing that I did really like about this movie is that the narration. The narration kind of served as a good way, a good device of telling you where the country was at this time, and also kind of was a nice way to advance the time between Tobey Maguire's character, the jockey, and Seabiscuit himself. It kind of paralleled their rises, all while explaining the background of Mr. Howard, Jeff Bridges, and how he becomes the owner of this pretty unique horse. So it's a slow burn. This movie is not quick paced. But eventually it did get going. And let me just say, that first racing scene was absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
And people are like trying to kill each other, almost dying on the track, whipping at each other, pulling at the stirrups. It's crazy out there. But I really liked how the movie, it was well done, but it's a simple device. You have the parallel paths of Tobey Maguire, seeing him trying as a boxer and failing, and trying just certain different avenues of life, trying to hustle, trying to make a buck. And you see that Seabiscuit was kind of thrown into a couple of different positions before he really found his stride, pun intended. But it was nice to see their parallel rise, and you really realized that Seabiscuit and Tobey Maguire read a jockey that was oversized and kind of cast aside, and especially when you find out he couldn't see in one eye because of said boxing. They're the perfect match for each other, because they're the horse that nobody believed in and the jockey that nobody believed in. And what do we love as a movie-going public? A redemption story. And I think Seabiscuit gets there, especially when you have the big match race against War Admiral, which, shout out to War Admiral's owner. He's the dad from A League of Their Own. That's what I remember him. He's Marla Hooch's dad. I love that dude. But this movie, it took a while to get there for me, but it does ultimately get there, I think. The narration was a nice touch. I do have a soft spot for period pieces, but I would recommend this if you want, dare I may be so bold, if you want a horse racing movie that has a little bit of a Rocky feel to it. That's what they were trying to do, in my opinion, and I think that's what they did. And it adds another level when you realize it was based on a true story. And some of the messaging in this movie, I got wrapped up in it. And I'm not going to give away too much in case you want to watch, but Tobey Maguire's character has to make a comeback too. And it also shows a pretty nice friendship between Tobey Maguire and one of the other jockeys who ends up having to ride Seabiscuit a little bit, a Hall of Fame jockey. They bring in a ringer a little bit. But the quote that stuck with me from this movie is, "You don't throw a whole life away just because it's banged up a little bit."
Get out of my head, man. I was going to talk about that.
That is Chris Cooper's character in this movie, Jim Smith, the trainer, the horse whisperer, if you will. And that really stuck with me because I think that's what that's the whole movie's message, in my opinion. That's what it is, and I would recommend it. But I've gone on long enough. It's time to pass the baton to you, sir.
All right. Before we talk about I talk about Seabiscuit. Got some comments in the comments section. Dan Cruz from the Time to BS podcast. Say his name and he appears. He also says, "Get out of my head. That's my purse. I don't know you." By the way, King of the Hill is coming back. Man.
Yes. Yes, it is.
And it's tragically the voice for John Redcorn. He was unfortunately, I don't know if I can say it on YouTube, but he was shot and killed yesterday, which is really tragic. I mean, the thing is, we've lost 4 of the original voices from King of the Hill, which is very sad. So
sad.
Time to BS saying, "Get out of my head," and the pink hand of Sap has appeared. Sports ball.
Welcome everybody.
Welcome everyone. Thanks for chiming in. We appreciate you. All right. So my thoughts about Seabiscuit, and like I said, I forgot to watch it this weekend, but hey, whatever. I mean, it's life is life,
Yeah, it happens.
We had our happy hour on Friday. On Saturday, I was invited out to hang out and watch the Knicks lose to the Pacers, foreshadowing ahead. And Sunday was Sunday was also a little bit of a busy day, but I played some golf at simulate. I played at the golf simulator in Malta, which is pretty cool. So,
nice.
So my toe still hurts for some reason. My backswing. And then yesterday we had the belly up super show for the Stanley Cup final. Again, check it out. Check out the replay on the Belly Up Sports YouTube channel. But my impressions of Seabiscuit, I absolutely love this movie. Because when I saw the original, I thought, my stupid dummy head, I thought it was on Disney. Secretariat is on Disney. Seabiscuit is a Universal film, and I had to wind up renting it on Amazon, which is fine. Not a big deal.
Yeah.
But I saw the time as soon as I hit play, I saw the runtime. I'm going, oh man, this is going to be a long film. Oh no. Tracy threw another dud recommended by Tracy. If you're watching Tracy, I kid. I love you. I love you. But this movie, like it very much like Draft Day. It starts fast and it just keeps going. It just keeps going. Dragged a little bit at the end, but there was some. But again, this is the first time I've watched Seabiscuit myself, so I don't know what to expect. But it just seems like there were definitely a lot of redemption stories to this particular film. You got Seabiscuit himself, who was basically cast out and was just roughed up, and obviously an abused animal from every indication. That smarmy Irish owner saying, just whip him a lot. He'll find out. Because I guess he was as a horse. Like for a horse, you want somebody to race. You don't want somebody with a gentle nature as a race horse. So obviously, you can tell that he was abused. He suffered abuse at the hands of different owners. Nobody can tame, and then after that, nobody can tame him until Red Pollard came along. So we got that redemption story. Then you got Red Pollard, as you mentioned, Dustin. He grew up in Canada, which I didn't know. I was like, all of a sudden it says the scene shifts to Alberta, Canada. I'm like, Alberta, Canada?
Yeah.
should we get Brent on this review of this movie? Our friend, we mentioned Brent Redlinsky from the 1420 podcast, friend of the show, great guy. But you kind of see with the story what's happening, and then so you see Red Pollard, how he grew up in supposedly an affluent family, very well read, memorized lines by heart. Then you got Mr. Howard, Charles Howard, as you mentioned, starts off as a wheel, I guess you could say a wheel constructor at Ford, Ford factory. Then he decides to go into the bicycle business. Then he becomes a car salesman. Eventually, I guess he owns the same car company, the Stanley car company, which ran on steam, not on gasoline. And then you had the narrative of the Depression, and I knew in that dinner scene where he's toasting his friends and he's celebrating and having a great party, that phone call, I'm like, I know it's coming now.
Yeah.
Stock market crash in 1929.
Yeah.
And now you start to set the scene where the Pollards basically become homeless. And yeah, I'm spoiling it a little bit here. But you see Red basically being, I don't want to say sold by his parents, but he's basically being told by his parents, there's no future here. There's no future with us. Don't bother being a vagrant with us. You're going to stay here, and you've got a gift. You've got a gift with horses to race horses or to train horses. This is your future. Stay here. Mm-hmm. Then you get the story with Charles Howard. His son tragically passes. His son was tragically killed. In the car. His wife, played by Valerie Mahaffey, who recently passed away.
Yes, I think last week.
Last week.
Yeah.
Stupid cancer. Yeah. Valerie Mahaffey, who's a great comedic actress, by the way. If you don't remember her appearance in Wings, the show Wings, which is a great sitcom, one of my favorite sitcoms in the 80s and 90s. She's a great comedic actress and a great actress, period.
Yes, she was also in Seinfeld as one of George's many girlfriends, the accountant who was doing Jerry's taxes, and then George breaks up with her, and comedy ensues.
Yes, comedy.
Papier-mâché.
Papier-mâché. But Charles, his wife, couldn't take fighting too much grief over the loss of their son. Divorce. Leaves. He goes to Mexico. He meets his future wife, Marcella Howard, played by Elizabeth Banks. And let me say, upgrade. Have you ever seen those of you who watched Idiocracy will know what I just referenced. Oh yeah. Then you also got Tom Smith, his story. He's a trainer. Again, just like everyone else in that era, falls upon hard times, winds up in Mexico of all places, and he finds the horse, and who's about to be destroyed, basically. Mm-hmm. He says, "Nope, I got this. I'll take care of it." So you start to see the redemption arc. You see the pattern here, and you start to see the redemption arc start to play on, and. Yeah, that one line that when Charles and Tom meet, that one line where Tom says, you don't throw your whole life away just because he's banged up a little. That got me.
Yeah.
Because we all have these things. We all have these times in our life where we just feel broken. We feel useless. We don't feel like we're a cut above. Mm-hmm. You don't have to feel that way at all. And that line just typifies, just because something's broken doesn't mean it's useless. And it brought me back to a book that I read, which I also listened to on audio from Andrew Clavin, The Great Good Thing, about his conversion to Christianity. He remembers a point in his life he was listening to the '86 Mets, and it was a pivotal game for the division. They were interviewing Gary Carter at the end of one game. Who I guess he scored the winning run, and his knees were bothering him for the entire season. This is because he's a catcher. Like I identify with it because I used to play catcher, so I know how tough that position is to play. By the way, I'd say top 3 positions, toughest positions in sports.
Yeah, it's up there. I mean, to get in that stance alone is tough enough, and then you have to kind of massage the pitching staff when you need it. You have to know your pitchers. You have to understand. It's no coincidence that a lot of catchers become managers for sure.
Nope, not at all. But it reminded me of a quote that Gary Carter said at the end of a game. He says, sometimes you gotta play through pain. And that basically described that line. It was just basically wrapped up into one very, very sweet package that like it kind of reminds you, like, yeah, everybody has worth, everybody has a purpose. You may not find it now, but you'll find it eventually. So again, the redemption arc, and it just seemed like all 4 of those stories kind of blended together. Like they all like symbiotically had a story to tell. Like Charles Howard, he's in the car business. He's in the bicycle business, and he goes into the car business. And it just seemed like it wasn't completely unaffected by the depression, but didn't seem like it hit him as hard as everybody else, like the Pollard family and Tom Smith. But he buys Seabiscuit, he buys the horse, goes to Saratoga, finds the horse, buys the horse. Pollard and Seabiscuit immediately hit it off. And actually, there's some trivia in here that in that one scene. There's that one scene where they're trying to figure out how to calm down Seabiscuit. You see Tom Smith bringing a goat. I'm like,
yes,
because I've seen those videos where like certain animals, they get along with each other. Well, obviously the goat didn't make it, so they introduce a horse, and then it gets really, really quiet, and you see the horse, the one horse, the horse they bring in. And a dog laying down at Seabiscuit. And I was looking at trivia, and it says and on IMDb, it says the companions of Seabiscuit is given to calm him down were actually used in real life. The stray dog was named Pocatello. The female horse, Pumpkin, would accompany him to all his races throughout his racing career.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So you got his redemption arc. You've got Red Pollard, who is trying to find his way. Yep. And then he finds his horse, and he gets along with this horse, and he basically becomes, with the exception of I think 2 races, his permanent rider for all those handicaps and the big race that he wins. Tom Smith, the trainer, trying to make sure getting his redemption arc, basically was found as a vagrant out in the middle of a field and outside of a border town in Mexico. And you got Charles Howard, and you can see the relationship that Charles and Red have throughout the entire movie. And it comes to a head towards the end where Seabiscuit gets injured, his ligaments are damaged after a race, and Red's leg is broken before the big race against War Admiral. And they start to train together, and Charles wants him to get clearance from a doctor before they actually race again. He gets very concerned. And I was thinking about myself after that scene. He's treating him like he doesn't want to see him. He doesn't want to lose Red like he lost his son. He's treating him like a son.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's an interesting parallel because you mentioned, his father, Red's father, he says, don't come with us, but he says the line, he says, you have a gift, but he heavily insinuates, he said, hey, we're going to call you, we're going to let you know where we are. And you get subtle signals, and in some cases not so subtle signals that doesn't happen. Okay. Yeah. And then with, as you pointed out, Mr. Howard's son passing away, that leaves obviously a gaping hole, which would never be filled. But there are parts where it illustrates this Seabiscuit, Mr. Howard, they become the family that Red never really had after his early childhood.
Mhm.
And Mr. Howard, he says at one point, because there's a point when they find out that Red cannot see in one eye. Chris Cooper, Jimmy Smith is ready to cut. He said he lied to us. You want a jockey who lied to us? And
Mhm.
he basically, at that point, Jeff Bridges says the quote that Chris Cooper said to him earlier in the movie. He said, "You don't throw a whole life away just because it's a little banged up a little bit." And so it reaffirms. And he says to the reporters, he said, Red Pollard will be Seabiscuit's jockey forever. So it's really, he stands by Red for almost the entirety of this film.
Yeah. But I think my favorite character wasn't any of those four. Mm-hmm. It was TikTok McLaughlin, radio announcer.
A little shout out to TikTok.
Played by William H. Macy, again, who won a Golden Globe for the best. No, I'm sorry, he was nominated for Best Supporting Actor in Seabiscuit. I looked into it a little bit more. Seabiscuit was nominated, but they did not win any Oscars, which was kind of a shame because this is a very good film.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
I won't say it's my top movie in the No Ticket Required series.
No,
there's a couple of movies ahead of it, but this is definitely up there as one of my favorites because a lot of these sports movies are based on true stories.
Yeah,
tend to hit the hardest the most. This was definitely one of them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it had it didn't do it for me in the big race against Old War Admiral, but it did have that trademark thing where I got nervous at certain points, and I don't want to give away too much of what that point might be because, again, I recommend this film. It sounds like you recommend it too,
Definitely.
Ryan.
Mm-hmm. It's 2 hours and 12 minutes, but it goes by quick.
Yeah, it moves pretty quick. There are a few parts, like there's a part where I probably would have ended the movie if I was the director, but I'm glad that the director did not end the movie there because then you have a second arc where both horse and man have to make a comeback.
Indeed, that's true. That's true. Got a comment in the comments, a couple comments in the comments section. Kevin Wilson, friend of the show, our boy of summer, saying good job on the super show. Thanks, Kevin. We appreciate you. And you also said, and we got Mr. Cruz saying, you guys should review Crash. Fantastic film. I'm trying to find out which movie Crash you mean, because there's a couple of them titled Crash. One of them is about racial tensions in Los Angeles. Another one is about being stimulated sexually by car crashes.
I think that Mr. Cruz is talking about the first one with, I think Sandra Bullock is in that movie. I think, but I'm not 100% sure.
I'm not 100% sure either. So I think maybe he meant Rush, which we already reviewed last year.
Mm-hmm.
So, but if you can clarify for us, we appreciate you. But yeah, right now between Draft Day and Seabiscuit is currently in the number one place.
Yep.
And the reason why we reviewed Seabiscuit is because this weekend, interestingly enough, this movie was partially filmed in Saratoga.
Uh-huh.
The Belmont Stakes are this weekend, so it'll take place on Saturday. There's festivities going on throughout the whole week. They're actually closing Broadway on Wednesday night from like 5 p.m. to 2 a.m. I'm going,
wow.
Why is it closed? I'm like, oh, the Belmont is this weekend. So they're having a big concert. I guess they're having a concert there. Blues Traveler played there last year.
Oh, wow. Okay.
During the concert on Broadway. So, but yeah, that's the reason why we picked Seabiscuit is because the Belmont is this weekend. Mm-hmm. Next week, we're going to be reviewing Youngblood, which is a story about junior hockey starring Rob Lowe, Patrick Swayze, and Keanu Reeves.
And if you're doing the math and following along with us, what is about to commence very shortly? The Stanley Cup. This movie's about hockey. It's almost like Brian and I planned this.
Oh, and the movie after that is Blue Chips because the NBA Finals are they start on Thursday.
Yeah.
So yes, there is a method to our madness, but yeah, that's next week. Young Blood is next week. Blue Chips is the week after, and then after that, it's No Holds Barred.
Oh man!
Which I'm looking forward to Dustin's cringe fest when he watches when we review that movie. But I watched it when I was a kid, but I won't spoil it any for you. But next week we'll review Young Blood, and we hope you watch it, and because you can stop by and you can review it with us. So
yeah.
So
and right now, my ranking is with you, Ryan. Seabiscuit, then Draft Day. Sorry, Sonny.
Little crush on Jennifer Garner, though.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's been this edition of No Ticket Required. All right, when we come back, we'll talk about Tom Thibodeau getting fired by the New York Knicks today. We'll also reveal our favorite athletes to wear the number 40. So stand by and stay tuned for more No Credentials Required. This episode of No Credentials Required is brought to you. Oops, wrong ad. Sorry. Let's try that again. Take two. Hey everyone, it's Ryan from No Credentials Required to talk to you about one of our newest partners at Belly Up Sports, SeatGeek. Yeah, live sports is great on television, but the feeling of being at the arena is a priceless experience. That's why our friends at SeatGeek are there to help you find the best tickets at the best prices. Not only can you get tickets to sporting events, but you can also get tickets to concerts, comedy shows, musicals, and more. Search for your desired event now at SeatGeek.com, enter promo code BellyUpSports at checkout, and you save $20 off your first purchase. SeatGeek. Life's an event. We have the tickets. That's right, folks. This episode, the affiliate sponsor is SeatGeek. Got lots of events going on right now in the sporting world. Stanley Cup Final starts tomorrow. Yay. NBA Finals, the vastly inferior championship tournament during the spring, starts on Thursday. There's also baseball season. Plenty of baseball season to behold. But, and actually, I got to talk about this one story in a second, but I'll get to the ad first. But if you want the best seats, the best prices available, you're going to go to SeatGeek.com. You're going to use their pricing tool, find the best prices for your budget. They also have the pricing tool where you can find the best seats, the ones you can afford. The green dot tells you it's the best seat. The red dot usually means it's a little bit more expensive, but hey, if it's in your budget, it's in your budget.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you want to save some cashola to get yourself that souvenir or that hot dog or beer that you want during your sporting event, go to SeatGeek.com, select your tickets, and then enter promo code BellyUpSports at checkout. Get $20 off your order of $50 or more. But it's not just sporting events. It's also concerts, comedy shows, anything that requires a box office ticket. You'll find it at SeatGeek, and you'll use promo code BellyUpSports at checkout. Get $20 off your order of $50 or more. Dustin, I know a couple of your friends have used this promo code, and they've saved a couple of bucks on Adirondack Thunder tickets.
Oh, yeah. Adirondack Thunder games. You can save a little scratch with SeatGeek, and we got a great price on the ticket because what did we use? The green dot, just like you were saying here. So if you have something planned for the summer, which this is the season that we all wait for, fire up SeatGeek, type in the code, save yourself a little scratch, and enjoy whatever you want to enjoy.
Let's be honest, there's never a bad seat at Gruns Falls Civic Center. Sorry, Cool Insuring Arena. But the story, before we get into our next topic, I was listening to our friends of the show, Levac and Gaz, this afternoon, talk about the Miami Marlins Colorado Rockies game from last night. The official tally in the tickets was over 5,000, but the official attendance I think it's 137 people.
Oh, man. Wow.
Yeah. And I wonder if some of those tickets were bought on SeatGeek. I hope they were. But it's just crazy that the two worst teams in baseball playing each other last night to 137 people in the crowd.
Yeah.
And half the people there, I reckon there were probably more people working concessions in the dugout, in the media boxes, working security, working the field. There are probably more people doing that than there were in the crowd last night at Lone Depot Park, which is sad.
That's tough, and I'd be surprised if that isn't some kind of attendance record in the most negative way possible. And imagine being those players too. You could probably hear somebody going, I got it, as clear as day.
Yeah, it says more. I'm reading some of the headlines from some of the stories that came out from it. And Sports Illustrated saying this sad photo is such a small crowd that Marlins Rockies game is wild. Outkick saying more people were at the supermarket than Rockies Marlins.
Wow.
Yeah, it's bad. And then the fact that the Rockies are the worst team in baseball, yet somehow they get a good crowd at Coors Field.
Yeah,
is wild. Is wild.
Yeah, but their fans support them. You can't fault them there.
Hey, $4 a ticket for the cheap seats. I'll take that.
Yeah, I would go.
Let's talk about a coaching casualty in the NBA quickly. I was going to go all in on Tom Thibodeau tonight based on Saturday's game. He doesn't use his bench. He keeps his starters in for too long.
Yeah.
But this afternoon, as reported by Shams on ESPN and other news sources, a sham bomb came in. Tom Thibodeau was fired by the New York Knicks. He will not be the coach of this team next year. 5 years with the team, the fourth winningest head coach in New York Knicks history. Led them to the playoffs the last couple of years. Got them farther than they have been since the Clinton administration.
Yeah.
Losing 6 games to the Pacers. However, it seems like management said, no, this is a bridge too far. We're just gonna cut our losses here. We're gonna find a new head coach. Dustin, what's your impressions about this? But what did you think when this firing happened?
But I thought it was pretty ridiculous. You're gonna thank a guy. Now I understand being frustrated after the loss for the reasons that you quickly laid out. Everybody has their Achilles heel in life, and Tom Thibodeau seems to be that he doesn't always know when to use his bench. And, a lot of people blame a lot of Derrick Rose's injuries on his time in Chicago with Tom Thibodeau earlier in his career. But all that being said, this is a ridiculous firing. As you mentioned, Tom Thibodeau's been with the New York Knicks for 5 years. He got him to the playoffs, I believe, 4 out of the 5 years he's been there, okay? A couple times they entered the playoffs. You didn't think they were going to go far, but they made it. Not everybody makes the playoffs, people. My team did not make the playoffs this year. But the fact that he gets the New York Knicks to the Eastern Conference Finals, the furthest they've been in a long, long time. You're going to take a team that clearly buys into what their coach is selling, and you're just going to get rid of Tom Thibodeau. It shows why the Knicks are the Knicks. And if I'm a Knicks fan this morning, I am very frustrated. And you said something, when we were discussing tonight's show, you said something. This has Dolan's fingerprints all over it, and I agree. Well, it's a reactionary firing, a reactionary, petulant firing because you didn't get past the Pacers. Now, did I think the Knicks were going to beat the Pacers? I didn't think so, but still, Tom Thibodeau, who are you going to go out and get? And guess what? I think the Knicks' path to, if they want to get back through the East, is probably going to be a little tougher next year. I mean, who knows?
So I initially thought this was a Jimmy Dolan move because Jimmy Dolan moves are never supposed to make sense.
Yeah.
But I was told that this was actually a call by general manager and director of and I guess the president of operations, Leon Rose. So it wasn't Jimmy Dolan's call; it was Leon Rose's call. So, and I opined on Twitter this afternoon as soon as the firings came out. I said, what did I say? I said either Leon Rose has lost his GD mind, or this move has Jimmy Dolan's fingerprints all over it. And I said I'm willing to bet this decision has Jimmy Dolan's fingerprints all over it if I'm a betting man. Well, if I was a betting man, I would have lost. So that's why I don't put money. That's why I don't bet so very often. So, but yeah, I mean, we talk about Tom Thibodeau. I find it interesting. I find the correlation with him to Chan Gailey of the NFL.
Okay.
The old offensive coordinator with the Buffalo Bills, coach of the Buffalo Bills, longtime offensive coordinator. His system works great the first year. I mean, I remember the 2015 New York Jets. They were one game away and 4 Ryan Fitzpatrick interceptions away from a playoff appearance for the first time since 2011.
They had Chris Ivory, right?
Yes, they had Chris Ivory. They had Ryan Fitzpatrick. They had, let's see, not Braylon Edwards.
Brandon
Marshall, Eric Decker. Had a great offense, had a great defense to match it. But year one, that was year one of Chan Gailey. And Chan Gailey's offenses, year one, look fresh. They look innovative. They look like they know what they're doing. And then in year two, in year three, they become predictable. It becomes predictable. Tom Thibodeau with his coaching has been the same. With the Bulls, with the Timberwolves, now with the Knicks. It seems like he's starting to put things together year after year, but the same things always seem to happen. The same coaching habits always seem to rear its ugly head. And we saw it in this series with the Pacers. He either has a very short bench or he doesn't use his bench at all. He just keeps rolling with the same 5 players. He never uses his bench for whatever reason. He doesn't use his bench, and it always comes back to bite him. And it just seemed like with this roster that was built to win a title, all those trades they made in the offseason, with that one big trade in the offseason with the Minnesota Timberwolves, it panned out for a while, but it cost Tom Thibodeau his job because he was stubborn and he didn't want to change his ways. And when you don't change your ways and you don't try to do something different, it's always going to come back to bite you in the butt. And that's what happened again with Tom Thibodeau. It's wash, rinse, repeat. He's going to find a job somewhere again. I don't know where, but he'll definitely find a job again somewhere. But I would caution the team that brings him in. I guess the Cleveland Cavaliers have a job vacancy. There's a couple of other NBA teams that have job vacancies right now. So remains to be seen. But the New York Knicks looking for a contract. I was looking for a new coach. I was watching a little bit of the Jake Asman show for his reaction. He was the same way. This is a bad firing, but it was going to happen eventually. But he was going off in the comment section. People were saying, "Bring Mark Jackson in, bring Mark Jackson in." There he was like, "Absolutely effing not." Some people are saying Rick Pitino. I'm like, Rick Pitino's coaching St. John's right now.
Yeah. I saw some people on social media saying Mike Malone. Bring in Mike Malone here.
Yeah, I mean, NBA coaches, retread coaches are just as bad as NHL retread coaches. Just bring the same coaches in. They change the culture for a bit, but then eventually they lose the locker room. But I guess what Tom Thibodeau things were different. Like the players, Jalen Brunson absolutely loved him. Karl Anthony Towns absolutely loved him. That might have been the reason why they faltered because they loved him. But we'll find out what the real reason why is eventually is in the next
Yeah.
30 for 30 in the future 30 for 35 years down the road if the Knicks don't win a title.
Yeah.
But that's that. And Tom Thibodeau looking for another job. New York Knicks looking for a new head coach. All right. It's going to lead us to our last topic of the night. We're going to keep things, again, the challenge is on. Just keep it within an hour. We're at 49 minutes right now. But we're going to talk about our favorite athletes to wear the number 40. And I'm going to give Dustin a hint. Mine involves football.
Okay.
I know who yours is. Hopefully we want the same guy.
Mine is basketball, so I think we're okay. I think we're okay.
Okay. So let me go ahead and start with you. Your favorite athlete to wear the number 40.
Well, I used to follow basketball in the late 90s / early 2000s a lot more than I realized. And since I was born in the 80s, but I came of age in that crazy time known as the 90s, Ryan, my pick is about as 90s as it comes. The Rain Man himself.
Sure, it's my connection or Dustin's connection.
But
Dustin is frozen currently. So
oh no. Can you still hear me?
No, I can hear you. You cut out there a little bit. You might want to pop out and pop back in.
All right.
Real quick.
I will do that.
Okay. All right. So while Dustin reestablishes his connection, why don't I give you my favorite athlete to wear the number 40? As I mentioned, as a football player, if you grew up watching football in the late 90s, early 2000s, he was part of that Tampa Bay Buccaneers team that steamrolled. On defense, they were a steamroller. On offense, he was the steamroller.
Yes.
I'm talking about the only Mike Alstott.
I almost picked him. I'm so glad that I pivoted because I was on it.
But yeah, Mike Alstott, number 40. I remember him playing in college at Purdue. And I just watched him. I remember the story during one of the broadcasts. I think it was on ABC, talking about Mike Alstott's football conditioning program. And one of the things he would do in his football conditioning program was that he would push a Jeep Wrangler around the campus at Purdue University.
Oh man.
Like, that dude was strong, he was fast, he was physical. You do a YouTube search for Mike Alstott highlights, and it's just going to be guys, just him running over guys or defensive tacklers trying to just bouncing off of him. But he was not only an effective runner, he's also a decent pass catcher out of the backfield. So if you need a third down play, or if you need a quick screen out the backfield, Mike Alstott was your go-to guy, and won a Super Bowl with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2003. That's one of my most memorable Super Bowls. Because the Patriots weren't in it, mostly. But that Tampa Bay Buccaneers team, you had a feeling. That they were just going to beat the Oakland Raiders down that day, and they sure did. And Mike Alstott was a key member of that team, along with Warwick Dunn, Brad Johnson, Keyshawn Johnson, and again the memorable defense with Warren Sapp, Derek Brooks.
Yes.
Great team. They should have won more Super Bowls. But Mike Alstott, fabulous football player, one of my favorite guys to watch during that era. Great fantasy pickup too if you were into fantasy football. If you were usually would go in the top 2 or 3 rounds. But Mike Alstott, my favorite number 40, my favorite athlete to wear the number 40. So that is my favorite. Dustin, now that you have a better connection, let's get your favorite to wear the number 40.
All right. Well, before I was interrupted by my bad connection, I don't know why. My computer sounds like it's about to take off, but I don't have anything. My backups aren't going. But before I was rudely interrupted, I was saying that I was raised in that wild and crazy time. I came of age in that wild and crazy time during the 90s. And in the 90s, one of the best dunkers in the whole NBA.
Oh, I know where you're going. Where you're going.
He resided in the Pacific Northwest. He played for the Seattle Supersonicas, as Adam Sandler once called them in a song. Shawn Kemp, the Rain,
yes.
the Rain Man. He was Ryan. I can't say that I watched a ton of Sonics games back in that time in their heyday, but I watched enough because George Karl, I always liked George Karl. He had the connection here in Albany for the Patroons. And the local team to us at the time that I have fond memories of going to see when I was but a young boy. And so I always kind of kept up with the Sonics a little bit because I liked Gary Payton too. But it was Shawn Kemp for me, man. I mean, he could leap out of the gym and his dunks were thunderous.
Yes.
Thunderous for sure. And he was a staple of the 90s. If you watch that inside the NBA inside stuff with Ahmad Rashad, which I did back in the day.
And Willow Bay.
Oh, yeah. You would see Shawn Kemp, you'd see the glove in Seattle, and Shawn Kemp was he's what people remember. His heyday might have been short, Ryan, but he burned bright during that time. And he's my favorite to wear 40. Thanks for the dunks, thanks for the memories. And I would wager the Pacific Northwest probably still loves you, Mr. Shawn Kemp.
I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
The most memorable thing about Shawn Kemp for me, besides the Thunderous dunks, was the lockout, the '98 lockout, that he gained so much weight. The Supersonics just said nope. Actually, no. He signed with Cleveland.
Yeah, I was going to say he finished with the Cavs. I remember
finished
that.
His career with I think he finished his career with the Cavaliers, but let me just double check.
And I think about 01 or so he finished up with them.
Let's double check and see. Shawn Kemp. From 1990 to 2003, he played with the Supersonics. From 1990 to 1997.
Yeah.
Played with the Cleveland Cavaliers from 1998 to 2000. Portland Trailblazers in 2001, 2002, and finished his career with the Orlando Magic in 2003.
Oh, man. Okay.
Wore the number 40 throughout his career, except for his time with the Cleveland Cavaliers. He wore number 4.
Oh. Okay.
But yes, I definitely agree. One of the greatest dunkers of all time.
Yeah.
One of the best power forwards in the 1990s, period.
Yeah, even though he's remembered for the dunks, and I'm guilty of it here, he was not a one-dimensional player.
No, he was
not. But yeah, man, the dunks, I'll remember those.
Yeah, absolutely. Desi coming in with another Alabama player. My favorite number 40 is Josh McMillan, linebacker for Alabama from 2015 to 2021. Jeez. Was he redshirted a couple times? He had 28 tackles during his career and was part of the 3 national championship teams. He was a notable player on special teams, was also a lead blocker for the running game. She also says they should bring back the Supersonics in the NBA.
I agree. Get it done already.
I keep saying it is a trope on this show, but I'm going to keep with it over and over and over again. I find it highly comical that when the Supersonics were relocated to OKC, became the Thunder, and David Stern said, we're going to eventually bring basketball back to Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
The NHL got there first.
Yeah. The NHL and the NBA, there's the conspiracy theories abound with that.
Man, there's so many conspiracy. I love making a good sports conspiracy theory, and Gary Bettman's time in the early '90s was one of them.
Yeah.
When he first became commissioner in the mid '90s was one of them. All right, we're gonna wrap things up real quickly in just a moment. But before we do that, just want to remind you about our social media channels. Go ahead and find us on social media. On Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Just search for No Credentials Required. And also find our other podcasts and written articles at bellyupsports.com. On the podcast side, subscribe to the podcast wherever you find podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, Amazon Music, iHeart, TuneIn, Pandora, and our YouTube channel after the show. And also don't forget to hit that notification bell on Twitter, on YouTube. That way you know when live shows go up, when show announcements go up, when memes go up, all that good stuff. It's on our YouTube channel. And and those of you who are watching on the Belly Up Sports YouTube channel tomorrow or future or anytime after. Leave us your comments about Seabiscuit, about Tom Thibodeau, about your favorite athletes to wear the number 40. Leave us a comment in that comment section. Also, leave suggestions on what Dustin should do with his broken down picnic table still. Still for recommendations, folks. And again, on the podcast side, rate, review, comment. Having a great year so far with our podcast listeners. Thank you to everyone who has listened or subscribed. We appreciate you. Tell a friend about this podcast if you think they'll like it. We're going to get out of here, but thank you for listening to No Credentials Required, where you don't need a press pass to talk sports. Proudly presented by Belly Up Sports. We'll be back on Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern. Back to our usual shenanigans during the Saturday brunch. So have a great week. Enjoy the hockey. And I guess you can enjoy the basketball too. Or whatever sport you watch. Or watch Seabiscuit and tell us what you think about Seabiscuit. We'll see you again on Saturday morning. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great week.
Good night, everybody.